Contagion is written by Scott Z. Burns and is directed by Steven Soderbergh. So, this is a film that I'm reviewing for quite obvious reasons. There's a global pandemic going on, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun just to go back and watch this film and just see how it holds up. Now, I did see this film when it first came out. I saw it in high school. Don't remember which grade I was in. Maybe I was in 9th or 10th grade, maybe 11th. I do know that upon first watch, I thought the movie was okay, but I did remember it having a really awesome ending that really stuck with me until now. And I was wondering if my opinions of the film back then would hold up to now, because I've just evolved immensely on my film taste and my film knowledge. But for starters, this film has an all-star cast. I mean, it's got Matt Damon, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Winslet, Marion Cotillard is also in this film. So, I mean, there's a nice handful of A-list actors that are in this film. But the first real positive, well, I guess really the biggest positive about this film is how scientifically and socially accurate this film portrays a really contagious virus and the effects it has on society. The scientific part, take my opinion with a grain of salt if you want. I'm not a scientist, so I just have a layman's knowledge of what, I know about the subject. So if you really want to get a true understanding of whether or not this film actually reflects reality on that subject, maybe you should, go look up a scientist that reviews this movie, or look up, what they have to say about the film in general. But just my layman's knowledge, this is a fairly accurate film in that department. Especially when it comes to the whole, societal thing. That's what really impressed me the most about it. And just how incredibly accurate it was. Even with today's pandemic, you see a lot of the same reflections happening today. And it's kind of scary because there are some things in this film that are disturbingly accurate to what's happening now. And, again, this is a film, even back then when there was no pandemic, it made people want to immediately wash their hands, and it turned a lot of people into germaphobes for a week. And this film kind of puts that in your head. It really makes you want to stay safe on what you touch. Again, when it comes to that department, I think this film exceeds, and I think it's portrayed incredibly well. And I guess another positive is that the first half of this film I thought was incredibly strong. The storyline seemed to be really intriguing. I was invested into what was happening with the characters. And overall, I was impressed with the product I was getting for the first half of this film. But then to get into the negatives about it, the second half, I feel just fizzles out and gets really uninteresting. And a lot of the storylines don't really lead to anything that's really compelling. And that was kind of a bummer because, you want some of these invested storylines to pay off in some way. But they almost all of them kind of lead to nothing really exciting at all. And that was kind of a bummer because, we do follow Matt Damon's character in this film. And, we also follow his daughter, especially more in the second half of this film. And I'm sorry, I didn't really give any amount of shit about Matt Damon's daughter in this movie. This movie, it kind of strays away from, focusing on the pandemic thing, and it portrays the kind of love interest that she has with somebody, and I guess it's trying to convey the kind of consequences it can have on young love. But that just seemed I'm sorry, I don't know if it's just me, but I just dearly didn't care about that kind of stuff. I wanted the film to focus more on what was concentrated in the beginning, and instead it kind of strays away in certain areas, especially with Matt Damon's thing. Kate Winslet in this film, I think she's the best actress in this movie. I think she really knocks it out of the park. I really liked her storyline, but again, with her, she just disappears in this movie. Something happens to her character, and you're just invested in her character, and you're wondering what's going to happen with her, and then it just kind of gives you nothing on that, and that was also upsetting. Because again, to me, she was one of the strongest characters and strongest performances in the movie, yet you didn't really get anything out of her character, which kind of sucked. And, that goes for almost every character in this film. Nothing really leads to anything that you feel is a worthy payoff. And that's where I feel the film, that I feel that's where the film really loses intrigue, because this, again, first half of this movie felt like it was going to be an incredible film. Second half, it just gets kind of boring, because you're not really interested in what's happening in the second half in terms of the storylines. But the ending to this film, like the actual ending, I was correct in my judgment when I first watched this back in high school, because the ending is pretty fucking awesome. Because the film does go out of its way to show you what caused the pandemic, and the way that it actually shows it, like in sequence, was really interesting. And by the way, with the score, Cliff Martinez does the score to this film. I did not know that at all. I learned, like, I had the vibes when I was watching it. I was like, this film is, like, electrifying. Like, why am I liking this score so much? And then at the end credits, it said it was from Cliff Martinez, and I was like, holy shit, that explains that. Cliff Martinez's score in this film really enhances the film atmosphere. Really makes it, again, it increases the unsettling nature that this film gives you. And I thought it was just a really awesome score. Loved it. But it really makes the ending also more unsettling than it already was. I like the way that it showed you the sequence of events that caused the pandemic. I thought that was really, really cool. Again, if the film just had more concise and more organized storyline with what was established in the beginning, I felt like this could have been an incredibly solid movie. But to me, instead, we got something that had a lot of potential and excels on the scientific and social accuracy, but it ends, in terms of the characters, it just kind of ends on a really non-compelling, kind of shallow storyline conclusion, which, again, I can't stress it enough, it was kind of a huge bummer because the setup was pretty good. And also some of the writing and the direction of certain things and just the overall execution of certain things, it just kind of fell flat. Like, there were moments where I just wasn't convinced by the reaction or from the writing of a certain situation. Like, for instance, there's a moment with Matt Damon's storyline where, like, something serious happens to someone he loves, and the doctor's like, we did everything we could for her, and, sorry, but, your wife passed away. And Matt Damon's like, okay, so, what's going on with her? Is she okay? I just told you she's dead. We couldn't do anything. She's dead. Okay, so, when can I go talk to her? I just told you she's dead. Like, I get what they were going for. They were trying to go for someone being just in complete disbelief, someone that's in denial. But just the way that it was portrayed and the way that it was executed, it just came off like cartoony and not really believable, in my opinion. And I get that I get that people react differently to traumatic situations, but just in my personal opinion, it didn't really come off as realistic, and I wasn't really convinced by it. And there were other moments like that in the film that came off a little bit too cartoony with certain reactions. But yeah, so I guess to sum it all up, this film has a really solid first half, has a really decent setup. It's scientifically and socially accurate for what would happen in a pandemic. Just unfortunately, a lot of the storylines fizzle out to something that's really not interesting at all, to just being forgotten, period. And the ending rocks. I really like the ending because with a film like It Comes at Night, which also deals with a viral pandemic, a lot of people didn't like that one because it ends abruptly and it doesn't really give you an answer to what caused everything. Because it's a fuck you art house movie, which I love about it. Sorry, but Contagion actually goes out of its way to show you what happened, and it's all about execution. Like, I really enjoyed the way that it showed you what happened up until that point, and I gotta give credit where credit's due there, and I thought it was really solid. But yeah, so I'm going to give Contagion a 7 out of 10. Honestly, I would have given it a 6 out of 10, but just the score alone from Cliff Martinez made me bump it up a whole other point because it really is an awesome score. And when has Cliff Martinez not done an excellent score? Like, I'm waiting for this guy to get nominated for awards and win shit, but I feel like he doesn't win anything, unfortunately. The day he does, though, I'm going to be partying my ass off because he deserves it almost more than any composer right now. So yeah, that's my review on Contagion. For those who have seen the movie, which I'm sure most of y'all probably have, make sure to comment in the comment section to let me know what your thoughts are on it. And also, I hope everybody out there is watching this. Please stay safe. Try to avoid crowds as much as possible unless you absolutely necessarily have to. You know, social distance yourself as much as possible. And again, just please try your best to stay safe. Don't be like those people who go out into crowded restaurants and think that they're totally above this virus. Just don't do it. Unfortunately, we live in a country that wasn't prepared for this, and people are still having to work and put their lives on the line for really no reason. But also make sure to comment any requests that you might have for my next review. Again, I'm doing a lot of indie art house, cult classic type reviews, so if you have any of those type films that you want me to review, make sure to comment that in the comment section below. And if you really enjoyed what I had to say about Contagion, please give this video a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.